Well, Mr. Herperger, it is nice to have you in our studios. Where would you care to lead on, Macduff?
Well,
first of all, may I say that the lawyers that we've had the pleasure of working with in your absence, to a man, woman, they have all been a delight to have in our studio.
Yeah, they're fun people.
They have.
Yeah, and they're fun.
And
they enjoy doing it.
They always communicated with us early about where they thought that we might find some interest and some material that had some give back to our listeners. And as I say, to a man, woman, and I just thank you for taking the vacation and giving us a break from yourself.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's funny. You try with this show. I don't know how many years we've been doing this.
I think it's 7 years.
7 years.
We're into the 7th.
And we've always tried to do things that have some interest, not just talking head lawyer stuff.
Yeah, no.
So and I, from what I've heard and from what I've seen, they're doing the same, and it's great because people don't want to just sit and listen to a bunch of lawyers droning on about the law, because it's the law is an ass. I think Mark Twain said.
Well,
so it's nice when they're doing something different that people can relate to.
On the other side of it, there's been some unbelievably high-profile legal cases being tried. Not the least of which Jian Ghomeshi, and this Marie Heinen, who effectively is being held out as a pit bull. Who single-handedly destroyed the witnesses that had been brought into the courtroom against Jian Ghomeshi. And whether or not she's done a service or a disservice to the law in this country, some people suggest that her style and her attitude in the courtroom was not becoming to the case, and other people suggesting that she has advanced the whole concept of women's law and women practicing criminal law aggressively, because there's no doubt she was aggressive.
Well, I think that, if certainly, people can criticize her, but I mean, the fact is that most people who followed the case, and I followed quite a bit of it, if something happened to me that I was charged, and hopefully that'll never happen,
right?
That's the lawyer I'd want.
No kidding.
I mean, why wouldn't I? Would I want some milquetoast, politically correct, hand-wringing, useless lawyer, or would I want someone that's going to work the system the way it's meant to be worked, and that's the way it is.
Right.
That's the way the justice system works.
Final thought on this,
because I'm not. I don't. What am I talking about?
You've been away. You've been away. It's not your kind of law.
Yeah.
But I've also seen a significant amount of editorial suggesting that this case may ultimately result in some significant changes to how these kinds of sexual harassments or sexual assault cases are going to be tried in the courtrooms.
Well, that plus in the workforce, in the workplace. CBC, CBC. This guy got away with all kinds of things, apparently, and CBC
with the full knowledge of management because he was so powerful.
Yeah, he's so powerful, and when that happens, that's sick.
Yeah,
and the system is wrong. This guy will come back in some form.
Not
He'll reinvent himself. Not at the CBC, and probably never again with the following that he had, and that's probably a good thing. But there were some real problems with the case.
Yeah.
There were some problems with how with these witnesses, and that was clear. So she did her job, and she did it right. But I think
subsequently there are surveys that show, and I'm sorry, I found this fascinating. 60% of males that were surveyed across the country over the last 2 days believe that the wrong verdict was handed down. These are males who are looking at another male. And who are saying, this case did not do anything for women. Women will now be more afraid to report sexual assault because of how they're afraid they might be handled in the courtroom. And if you look at the marches that took place in this country over the weekend, there wasn't a major city where there wasn't some sort of on-the-street protest. Vancouver had hundreds of people parading through the streets protesting.
I think if anything we can take away from it is that if that happens, if there is a sexual assault or touching or anything like that, what the person has to do is has to act right away. The complaint.
You can't wait.
You can't let it go and hopefully it'll end. That can't be the case.
Yeah.
And I think that has, I think it's helped women in the workforce and workplace, and I think, and men too, because it happens to men too. But I think as well that you will see more women getting involved in practicing law, and that's a good thing.
I would agree with
more
you
and
there
more.
totally.
There's more and more women practicing.
Well, look, I watched The Good Wife on Sundays with what's her name? That actress that plays the part of the Good Wife. That legal series that actually is.
I haven't seen it.
It's been a phenomenal series.
Yeah, I used to go to bed.
Phenomenal series.
I'm in bed by 7:30.
So listen, let's go to the real subject at hand. You have some copious quantities of notes. Where did you think we would go this morning?
I wanted to talk a little bit about the budget from a senior's perspective, and I'm surprised actually. There's some good things in the budget, and I think that the Liberal government deserves credit for it. I don't think they've done anywhere. I think there's bigger problems here, and we'll talk about it. But they have done some things, and I think that's important. Some of the things may not turn out to be the way they expect, but at least they're doing something. I'm not sure there's enough. There's a problem happening in Canada that we got this bubble. And, for example, right now there are more people over 65 in Canada than there are people under 15.
Isn't that amazing?
And it's just going to increase.
Yeah.
It's going to increase and increase and increase. And so what happens? Well, the former government brought out this policy that the OAS supplement and the GIS, Guaranteed Income Supplement, would be phased in over, I think, by 2023. Instead of you being eligible at 65 for that supplement, it would be 67. And the reason for that was the cost
to
and the bubble.
To postpone, hoping that some people were going to die before they
that and the fact that
seriously.
People are working longer. More people are working. I mean, just, the age 65 as a retirement age, I don't know where it came from, but it came a long time ago.
Yeah.
And people are living longer and are healthier and more and have more to contribute. The other thing is that industry and needs more people because there's a shortage of workers. So most countries, most of the industrialized countries have gone to a 67 plus. I mean, it was not contrary to what a lot of people think. It was not the dark Lord as he manipulates and all that, doing this thing to screw
However,
everybody.
Mr. Trudeau did announce immediately it was going to go back to 65.
Yeah, and he said it'll go back to 65. Now, it's not, there's going to be some problems. However, going back to 65, we'll talk about it. He's increased the supplement, and basically what it is aimed at a small group of people, and it'll affect them, It'll help a small group of seniors, and that's a good thing.
These are seniors that are really not prepared.
That's right
for end of life.
Retirement. A lot of them are singles, and they're single people, and some of them don't have CPP. Or have a very low CPP,
or worked for a company that had no pension plan whatsoever,
or they weren't able to save, and a variety of reasons. And it turns out it's really 900,000 people that this will help, and that's fine, and it's a good thing that they've done it.
Out of a country of 36 million people, that's almost that's almost a million people.
Almost a million people.
Yeah.
Now there's some things that that's good, and I don't think we should ever belittle it. And the government, this government, did a good thing by doing that. It's nothing wrong with it. The jury's out on the 67 versus 65. I haven't really got my mind around it. I try and read as much as I can and avoid the hysterical press that says, this is going to bankrupt us, or or this is going to help everybody, because it's not. So I still can't get my mind around whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, or is a neutral thing.
But at least
my view is
he's done something.
He's done something, and it's actually sort of thought out. Some of the budget things, unlike most of the other budget items that I've seen, this one has actually there's some thought gone into it, which a lot of the other stuff isn't. Anyway, I don't think. But anyway, so it's particularly important for low-income seniors, and it may have long-term effect on the young people who are going to have to pay for this. So, I think the jury's out, and you know what? We can't crystal ball it.
Well, it's a roll of the dice.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
So you step up to the table, you throw the dice. does this stimulus, funding or spending to $100 billion.
But that's a separate issue. That has nothing to do with seniors.
But I recognize that. But he's gambling and he bets and he believes, and so does Bill Morneau, that the money that is going to be generated by this increased economic activity in the country is going to offset the money that they're running into the deficit.
No, but seniors, I want to.
You just want to stay with seniors.
Because I don't agree with that, and I think that most people who've looked at the budget say that it's changed from what it was.
Yes, it was.
Anyway,
from the election.
The GIS, we have CPP and old age security in Canada, and we're one of the few countries that has this. I mean, the Americans don't have this kind of thing. We're way ahead of the United States. We're way ahead of a lot of the industrialized countries of the world, of the West. And we also have the guaranteed income supplement. So we not only have Canada Pension for those who work, and it's a retirement program. We have these other safety nets.
Right.
The old age supplement and the GIS. Now, the old age, as you know, the CPP, there's no clawback. There is a clawback on the OAS and GIS. Fair enough. And basically, it's a means-tested supplement for the most vulnerable and the poorest in our society. It's a good thing. Came out, actually, I think it started with, I think it was the Pearson government that brought it out. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And it costs a lot of money, especially the GIS and the OAS. But, we as Canadians value it.
But it's also social underpinning.
Absolutely.
The guarantees.
Absolutely.
I mean, only because you're talking on the number side.
Yep.
But there are people. When you go to your friendly local neighborhood grocery store, maybe in some parts of this city, and there's a senior standing in front of you in the lineup or behind you in the lineup, and you look at the food that they have on the carousel, and then suddenly when you look at what they are buying for that day or for the week, you really realize how tough seniors.
No, it is.
It brings it home.
Yeah, I mean, especially things like when we have a crashing Canadian dollar.
Yes.
For vegetables, it's very difficult for seniors and for any low-income person. So, these things are good. There's no question that these are good programs, and what they've done is they've increased the GIS, and they're targeting single seniors and where there's no or little CPP. And it's a small number, but it's important they've done it, and that's a good thing. That's what makes us who we are. I don't think there's any question about it. It's a non-taxable benefit for low income, and it's going to go up to now the GIS will be about $947 a year, which is monthly is not much, but it's good. It's important. They've done it, and it'll help about 900,000 people. It's a 10% increase in GIS benefits for the lowest income seniors. So it's not going to help everybody. It's means tested, so it's going to help the most vulnerable. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's not a lot of money, but it's good. There's also, after $8,400 a year, you don't get it, the GIS supplement. So this is a small group of people.
But listen to the number you just spake. $8,400.
There's a lot of people. That's what they earn. That's what they have.
$8,400, $8,400. I mean, a year.
And a lot of these people are, there's a lot of seniors who are homeless. It helps those. I mean, it does. Those. The biggest thing, and the most important thing that they've done that we got to try and do that with health care in this province is that it's calculated on the individual, not the family income. So you can have two people both get it, especially where one is living in a seniors facility or is in residential care. It's not it's not on the family income, it's on the individual income.
Right.
And that's very important. And as you know, or you probably know, in BC, when we talk about health care, if you have to live in an assisted facility, you're eligible for assistance from the government, but it's 70% of or 80% of your income has to go to your shelter under health care.
Right.
The problem is that it's based on families. So you have these oddball scenarios where seniors are pretending they're separate, living separate and apart so that they can do it.
So they can each collect their check.
It's crazy. Yeah. So that's got to change. But you know what? That's a provincial matter. The feds are doing this on the federal stuff.
Need to take a quick break on this Tuesday morning. Jim Herperger is here from FH&P Lawyers, talking with some comfort, some praise for the changes that have been made by the Liberal government of Justin Trudeau to look after those amongst us who have the greatest of need. We'll be back to continue the conversation in a moment. We'll also take your calls if you've got anything you'd like to inject into the conversation at 250-862-2525. Back in a moment. Pleasure to have back from vacation. And as I alluded to at the beginning of the conversation, if there was ever a testament to the whole concept of vacation and time to get away, Jim Herperger this morning is proof that it works. He was gray, he was pale, he was bent over when he left and went on holidays. He returns tanned, bronzed, full of life, and clearly very committed conversationally with some of the subject matter.
The other thing, under the budget, there's an incentive for affordable housing for seniors, $200.7 million over 2 years to start in 2016 for construction, repair, and adaptation of affordable housing for seniors. Good idea, good program, but it's only for 2 years, and it's not enough. The estimate is that it'll assist 5,000 low-income seniors. Now, the problem, and the problem is that this is going to become more and more of an issue. $200 million is nothing, but it's a start. But we have to go beyond that, and it can't be just the feds. Every level of government has to do it.
Right.
And it's there's with this ballooning group of seniors coming along, and there's a lot of them who have low income, and we need more low income housing for them.
Yeah.
And traditionally, that's been looked after by churches and societies in the community. I mean, there's a number of them in Kelowna that has low-income seniors housing, but we need more. $200 million, it's a 2-year program. It's a drop in the bucket. It's something. It recognizes it. I'm a little bit surprised, really, that, there's so many seniors that vote. This could have been, and unfortunately in Canada, they all do this. Governments, when they come to budgets, it's not about what's good for the country. It's about getting elected again.
CARP has often held out that if Canadian seniors would band together, this is the Canadian Association of Retired People, and if the Canadian Association of Retired People says if seniors would identify themselves, vote as a bloc, take a position on issues, that the government would live in fear of failing.
Yeah, I think so. But, the other thing is we really desperately need a national pharmacare program. And we need a national caregivers program and a national home care support program.
Agree totally.
And we don't have that. And those things are, the thing is they're easy to set up. Farm care is going to cost money, but I mean, they're throwing money at everything else. But you can do these things, and you can get a lot of votes, and it's very sexy. And I don't understand why they're not.
And the other side of that is that all other parts of the medical system function for or on behalf of senior. Whether, if you fall, the ambulance is there. You're in the hospital, they look after you. You're prescribed, you're babysat while you're in the hospital, they heal you, they send you out into the street, they send you home, but you need drugs to continue the care.
And there
is no program.
No, there isn't. And, it's actually, from what I've been able to read, it's not that difficult, and it wouldn't cost that much, especially if National buying program,
Bulk buying.
I that needs to be done, and it has to be done. It's a critical issue. And seniors, low-income seniors housing. It can't be just the feds doing it. The province can get involved. The city can get involved every time there's a development. Sorry, guys, we'll agree to this development, but you have to put in 10%.
8 units.
8 units. Yeah. Easy to do.
Yeah.
Instead of parkland, we do all this green space. Forget the green space. We got enough. Let's do that. Low-income housing for seniors and the homeless.
Yeah,
you can do it, and the province could do it too.
I get there totally.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
let's go to the phones. Gail, good morning.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. Excuse me. I was reading an article about the OAS being clawed back. I am on OAS. I have since, in the last 2 years, gone back to work. Not really financially, but I have gone back to work. Now, the income, my husband and my income, even with my work, does not come anywhere near what they say, $72,000. Yet both of our OAS has been clawed back. We lost the GIS. which I find that's good. Okay. So who do you talk to find out why this is happening? I mean, you can't get any answers.
Well, there's a clawback on the OAS and the GIS, and it's family based. What you should do is talk to your member of parliament, get them to explain it. That's what they're here for. They'll that's. God help us, they could do something. None of them. I mean, it's the election's over and everybody's now they don't know you, but they know no one. That's sort of like St. Paul, but anyway, or St. Peter. So yeah, I would get hold of your MP, whoever that is, and raise hell and say, explain this to me. The interesting thing is there's no a person like you has gone back to work because of the need. These members of parliament, what they get for benefits is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how we put up with it, but
But they're different than you and I.
Well,
they're special.
Yeah, they're special people.
But
they're
we're
special,
Canadians, right? And we don't say anything.
Well, we don't. We're nice. We're nice, and we put up with the nonsense from banks and politicians. But we shouldn't. So what I would do is get hold of your MP, get them to explain it. And the reason I say that is you can go down to whatever it's called, Help Canada or whatever, and they can explain it too. But it might be better for you to sit down on the phone with your member of parliament, get them to say it, and then you can also try and get them to justify it, because that's the other issue. Justify why why it's happening.
Yeah,
and
like
tell them,
I mean, we're not even peaking 48, and they're clawing it back.
Yeah. So
and the problem is, if I stop working, it'll take them a whole year to figure out I'm not working.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got to live on whatever the heck I have in between.
So talk to your MP. They'll explain it and get them to justify it, too. Don't just say, okay, yeah, I understand. Say, well, why are you doing this? Why? What about me? Why? Ask questions.
Gail, do you have access?
They don't like that.
Do you have access to email?
Oh, yes.
Send me an email.
Okay.
Scope out a little bit of your concerns.
Okay.
I'm actually in conversation right now with Stephen Fuhrer.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the Kelowna Lake Country MP, and I'm trying to arrange a once a month time on air from Ottawa, or if he's in the market here in our studio, to deal exactly with these kinds of things.
Oh, excellent.
But if you would send me some information, I guarantee you it'll get under Stephen Fuhrer's nose with CC back to you, and hopefully he will start some sort of communication with you.
Okay, and what is your email, Phil?
Phil at am1150.ca.
am1150.ca. Got it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
Gail. Have a good day. Bye. He actually is trying real hard, Stephen Fuhrer. He's I don't know if you've seen, but the Sergeant Harjit Sajjan, National Defense Minister, will be here on the 8th of April to speak to the local Air Force Veterans Wing. And I'm trying to get him in studio.
That'll be interesting. He's actually, every government has a few people who have brains, and the Minister of Defense seems to have some brains. I've got a lot of time for him.
Yeah,
he's one of the few that has brains. The rest, it's like any government. They're all the same. I mean, this is all wonderful, but it'll change soon enough. Everybody will just say, well, what's the difference? So this guy is sharp.
Yeah, he's been there.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen.
So anyway, this going back to this affordable housing.
Yes.
I think that the government's done a good thing by recognizing it. I mean, it's not enough, but the fact is that they're throwing money at various things, as any government does. We'd always want more, but we got something for seniors, and I think that's great. So I think they deserve credit for it. It's not enough, but at least they're doing it. Good for them.
If you'd allow me to offer, I can remember some years ago, decades, when something called a MURB, multiple urban resident, received huge tax breaks from the government if they built, and I lived in one as a kid, in these massive apartment complexes that were built under the MURB program. And I think that we need the return of a MURB program, but focuses on seniors.
Well,
where a developer or builder would be.
One that works. The problem with the MURB was, of course, that it took down a whole bunch of doctors and investors and everybody else. But it's, we need things like that, incentives, and it can be the feds are doing something. province. There's no reason why we can't get Christy Clark to do something other than the fact that they're reluctant. They don't want to do it. And the same with the city. I mean, it's easy. It's not that difficult to do it. On a development saying we got to have green space, you can do more. You can do more than that.
Mayor Basran has lands that are set aside, or not Mayor Basran, Kelowna Council has land that is sitting, waiting for the BC Housing Authority to announce that they have funds for another low-cost housing project.
It's very important.
Yeah,
it is. And again, it's great to see the government doing something for seniors. And it's they could have done nothing. They could have said, we're going to spend it on whatever the pet project that we have, that our spin doctors say will help us get reelected. But they haven't. So this is good, and they deserve credit for it. It's not enough, but they deserve.
So you're at this moment in time giving them 2 thumbs up.
I think it's great
for more than just good effort.
Absolutely, and it's not enough, but you know what? It's something.
Yeah.
And these things have a way of kind of incrementally increasing, especially if seniors phone up their MPs and say we want more. Let's do this. Especially the National Pharmacare. If politicians put their feet to the fire, they will eventually see the light.
Yeah.
They will eventually see the light, but you got to keep doing it.
You just sparked a thought for me is that I need to go back to CARP, the Canadian Association of Retired People, and what?
I just found something out about CARP. I'm a big fan of CARP,
right?
And I thought it was great. Do you know who CARP is actually?
Yeah, Moses Neimer.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah. It's Moses Neimer owns CARP.
He bought the organization. He also bought the magazine Zoomer,
and he's got a radio station, and he's got that TV program.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was just a bunch of seniors who were advocates for seniors.
No, he's becoming a social activist.
I know, and I thought what.
Moses Neimer, broadcaster, a guru, a free thinker.
Yeah.
Is the guy who saw CARP and said, this is an organization that's floundering.
Yeah.
And I can do something about that.
No, I wasn't aware
he
of
went
it.
to them and said, I'll buy the organization, I will fund the organization, and I'll move it forward.
It's a great website, and they have some interesting articles there, and it is a good thing.
Yes, it is.
Even though it's owned by somebody, it's great. I look at it regularly. I find great ideas for this show on it, and I see things that I wasn't aware of. And it helps explain lots of things. It's for seniors out there. Want to if you instead of looking at say the news, you might want to look at this sometime. It's pretty good on the internet. You find it all, so it's good. There you go.
Good to have you in the studio.
Yeah, thanks. Nice to be back. And I've got my dog with me. I've got a blind diabetic dog with me today.
Talk about the blind leading the blind.
The blind leading the blind. Yeah, he gets 2 shots of insulin a day. He's only 4. His name's Benny.
You lie.
Yeah, he's 4 or 5.
He's 4 and he gets 2 shots of insulin a day?
And he's blind as a bat and walks into things. His name's Benny Surwa. He's one of my best friends. He likes Uncle Jim. He's kind of hanging out.
He lies patiently and calmly at your feet.
He goes to my office and bumps into my clients. And certain ones he'll bark at.
He's a Springer, isn't he?
He's a Springer,
Springer Spaniel. Lovely dog.
Great boy. Anyway.
The two of you, I saw the 2 of you walking down the street the other day.
Yeah.
And
picking up poop. Yeah.
Have yourself a great day.
Very humbling. It's good for anybody, especially for lawyers. Go out and pick up
poop.
Pick up poop.
I thought that was what lawyers did all the time.
A lot of them are full of it.
There you go. Listen to you.
Okay.
The one-liners abound here this morning.
See you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Jim Herperger can be found at FH&P. He is back and full of piss and vinegar. And if you'd like to harvest or tap into that energy, this is the perfect time to contact him at FH&P Jim Herperger.